today we will start moments of force. Now, moments of force is also known as torque. And in fact, this moment of force or torque actually means it is the turning effect of a force. That means when a force is applied to a body, how much it can turn the body. That turning effect of a force is called moment of force. Now it also depends that whether the body will turn or rotate or it will go in a straight line. When force is applied to a rigid body which is not fixed anywhere, then the body moves in a straight line, and that we say as a translational motion or linear motion. So suppose this is a body, we apply a force, so it can move, it will move here, or if I apply a force it will move here. So that's a translational motion. But if a body is pivoted or fixed at a particular point, say this is a plate and it is fixed anywhere here, so it is fixed here. So this body is fixed at this point. Now if I apply force to this body will not move in a straight line because it is fixed. So it will turn this way. And if I apply force in this direction, it will turn in this way. That means it will rotate. So this is a rotational motion. And this rotational motion is caused by this force. So due to this force, there is a turning effect due to which the body is turning. And that turning effect of a force is known as moments of force or torque. Understand? So the turning effect of a force applied on a body which is fixed at a particular point, that is known as axis. So that turning effect of a body is known as moment of force. Okay. Now suppose this is a wheel and which is fixed at this point. So this is a fixed axis, you can say. Now if I apply a force here, then this wheel will turn in this direction. Similarly, now suppose if I apply a force in this direction, then this will turn in this direction. So that means when I am applying the same wheel, I am giving a force in this direction, so the body is rotating in this way. That means it is rotating in clockwise direction. And if I use a force at this point below this axis, then it will move in this direction, so that is anti-clockwise. Now instead of applying a force here, if I apply a force in this direction also, then also the body will move in anti-clockwise direction. And in this case also, we can see that the turning effect can be a clockwise turning effect, or the turning effect can be an anti-clockwise turning effect. Now if the turning effect of force is in anti-clockwise direction, generally we say it is positive, we take it as a positive moment. And if it is in a clockwise direction, in that case we say it is a negative moment. Understand? So if the rotation turning effect is in the anti-clockwise direction, we say that is positive moment, and if it is in a clockwise direction, we say it is a negative moment. Now mathematically, to calculate the moment of force, that is torque, now this torque is actually equals to force. Mathematically, the turning effect or the moment of force is the product of force into the perpendicular distance between the line of action of force to the axis of rotation. You understand what I told? This turning effect is actually equals to the force applied into distance. Now this distance means what? This distance means the perpendicular distance from the line of action of force to the axis of rotation. So that means, now suppose I want to calculate the torque of this. So I say T. Now this is F. Force is F Newton here. So this is F Newton. And then D means what? It is a perpendicular distance of the line of action of force. Line of action of force means along the direction of the force. Now if you see, the direction of the force is this. So this is the line of action of force. And this O is the axis of rotation. So the perpendicular distance between this line of action of force and the axis of rotation, this distance. So this distance is the distance we take, and you know the SI unit of force is Newton and the CG's unit is meter, and therefore the unit of torque is Newton meter, SI unit. Now since here it is clockwise, I can write in the bracket clockwise, or if I don't write clockwise, I will simply write minus F into D Newton meter. So when I give a minus sign, so minus sign actually means it is clockwise. Here also if I want to calculate the torque, you can understand torque is equal to force into the perpendicular distance from the line of action of force from the axis of rotation. So this distance, so this is the line of action of force and this is the axis of rotation. So this distance, so I take F Newton, here also I will write F Newton into D meter. Now since it is anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise means positive, so I can simply write F D Newton meter, and simply it is positive means anti-clockwise, and if I use a negative sign, and that means it is clockwise. Understand? Now the moments of force, actually from this mathematical calculation that we have done, we can understand that the moment of force depend upon these two factors. One is the magnitude of the force and another is the distance, the perpendicular distance of the line of action of force from the axis of rotation. This means what? Greater the force applied, greater will be the torque. Greater will be the torque. And greater the distance of the line of, greater the perpendicular distance of the force from the axis of rotation, greater will be the torque. Understand? Now try to understand. See this example. Now again, if you see, this is the wheel and this is the axis of rotation. Now suppose if I want, this is fixed, if I want to rotate this wheel, then the best possible point where should I apply a force is this. So if I apply a minimum force at this point, that means you can say at tangent at this point, then by applying a very minimum force I can rotate this. And similarly you can understand that instead of applying, now suppose I am applying a force of 5 Newton and this distance, this perpendicular distance is 2 meter. So here what I get torque as negative because it is moving in anti-clockwise direction. Clockwise direction. So it is negative. So I will simply write minus 5 Newton into 2 meter. So I get minus 10 Newton meter. So that means this is the torque required to rotate this wheel. This much torque, 10 Newton meter torque is required to rotate this wheel. And for this what I am doing, I am applying a force at this point. Because you can understand that moment of force is directly proportional to the applied force. It's also directly proportional to distance. So greater will be the distance, greater will be the moment of force. So therefore, the greatest possible distance is this point. So therefore, if I apply a force at this point, I get the greatest torque which is required to rotate this wheel. So that means what I can understand, that minus 10 Newton meter torque is required to rotate this wheel. Now suppose, if you apply a force here now, instead of this point, if you apply a force here, now what you have to do, you have to apply a greater force than before to turn the same wheel. You can understand? So you can imagine that while we apply a force at this point, you can easily rotate the wheel by giving a less effort, less force. That means in that case you are just applying a force of 5 Newton to get a torque of 10 Newton meter, and therefore it starts rotating. Now instead of giving the force at this point, now if I give a force at this point, suppose at this point, now this distance is 1 meter now. So you can understand, now to get the same torque, because 10 Newton meter torque is required to rotate this. So now to get the same torque, now you have to apply a 10 Newton force. You understand? So now in the second case, now it will be again minus 10 Newton into 1 meter. So I get minus 10 Newton meter. So I get the required torque and the body is rotating, the wheel is rotating. But in the first case I am just applying 5 Newton force. In the second case I am applying 10 Newton force. That means I have to apply a greater force. So naturally you can understand that when I apply my force at a greater distance from the axis of rotation, I require to give minimum force. So naturally this is the best option. Now try to understand this also. Now imagine if I apply a force here. Now whatever force you give a force of 5 Newton, 10 Newton, 100 Newton, 200 Newton, in this point, at this point, the wheel will not rotate. The wheel will not rotate. You know why? Because in this case, suppose F Newton force you are applying, as much force as you can, then torque will be what? F into, and this perpendicular distance of the line of action of force from axis of rotation is 0. And finally, what I am getting? I am getting turning force as 0. And therefore the body is will not, the body will not rotate. Understand? Now see another example. So with this example you can understand the concept of turning forces. Now suppose if I give a force here 5 Newton force, and suppose this distance is 2 meters. And if another force from that side is given, 5 Newton force, then you can understand the body will not rotate. So with this, when I say F1 and F2, now F1 and F2, they are equal in magnitude but they are opposite in direction. Now with this case you can say that when you apply this force due to this force F1, the body will attempt to rotate in the clockwise direction, and when you apply a force F2 in this direction, the body will attempt to rotate in anti-clockwise direction. So I can say moment torque due to F1. Now torque due to F1 will be what? Now this F1, now due to F1 it is clockwise, it's rotating clockwise. So I'll give what sign? Minus. So I'll write minus 5 Newton into 2 meter. What I get? Understand? Minus 10 Newton meter. So negative means it is clockwise. Similarly, when you see now with respect to F2, now torque due to F2. Now due to F2 the moment will be in this direction, that is anti-clockwise, so that's positive. So we write positive value, we have 5 Newton into 2 meter. What you get? 10 Newton meter. Now what will be the resultant moment, or we can say sum of the moment? Now sum of the moment will be what? Minus 10 Newton meter plus 10 Newton meter, and what I get? So what I get? I get 0. So that means the body will not rotate. What? Understand? So the body will not rotate. Again see this example. Again, if I use a 5 Newton force, and again this distance is 2 meter. So due to this it is rotating in this way. So that is clockwise. Now again suppose I am applying a 5 Newton force in this direction also. But in this case the distance, this distance is 1 meter. So you can understand due to F1 and due to F2. Now if I want to calculate the moments of force, now F1 the body is rotating in clockwise, and F2 the body is rotating in anti-clockwise. So torque due to moment of force due to F1, torque due to F1, you can understand F1 will be negative. Now the torque here it will be negative, is a clockwise direction. So what I read? Minus 5 Newton into 2 meter. So what I get? Minus 10 Newton meter. And again if you see torque due to F2. Now torque due to F2. Now F2 it is anti-clockwise, so we'll write positive sign. So I'll write what? 5 Newton and the distance is 1 meter. So I get 5 Newton meter. And now what will be my resultant moment of force? Resultant moment of force will be the sum of anti-clockwise and clockwise moment. So what I get, minus 10 Newton meter plus 5 Newton meter, and my answer will come in negative, minus 5 Newton meter. So you can understand that in this case the body will rotate and finally it will rotate in the clockwise direction and with a moment of force of 5 Newton meter. Understand? So this is about moment of force. Okay. Okay, so in common life, in our everyday life, we use this concept of moment of force. So far what we have understood that the moment of force depends upon two factors. One is force and one is distance. And to get a greater turning effect, we always increase the distance. Because increasing the force means you have to increase the effort. So instead of increasing the force, we can increase the distance of the line of perpendicular distance of the line of action of force from the axis of rotation. So we get a greater torque and the body easily rotate. Example you can see, now suppose this is a door and this is the hinge of the door. The hinge of the door. So you can say this is the axis, these are the axis. And you know the best possible point where we can apply a force to open the door is here. So generally the handle of the door is kept near the edge. So because you are applying a force here and this is the perpendicular distance of the line of action of force from the axis of rotation, this is the distance. So you can easily hold the handle from here and we can easily open or close the door. But try to understand is it's not as easy to open the door from here than from opening the door from here or from here. Then suppose the handle is here, then you can understand you have to apply a greater force. Or if you want to try to open the door from here, so you have to give a greater force. And when you try to open the door from here, applying a force here, it nearly become impossible. Because the turning effect will be 0 because the distance is 0. So T is equal to F into D. So if D is 0, then the turning effect will be 0 and the body and the door is difficult, very very difficult to open. So in common life also we use this concept that we just increase the distance. Now when we increase the distance, then we can easily get a greater turning effect. You can say a seesaw. Now the best point where it's best to sit on a seesaw is this point and this point. Then there's A and B. Suppose A and B are two person. They with a minimum of effort can move this seesaw to and fro. Because this is the force, these are the force, and this is the axis, and this is the distance. Now you can understand, instead of here, if A and B sits here, since the distance become less, now they have to give a greater force to move this seesaw. And now if they say both sit here, very much closer to this, then they are almost unable to move the seesaw because the turning force is less. So in common life, when we use a spanner, wrench, in fact, you have seen wrench, say this type of, for opening for opening nuts and bolts. You know, when the handle of the wrench is longer the handle of the wrench, more easy it is to operate. So when the for a shorter handle you have to apply much force, but if the handle is longer, then we use a lesser force to get the same turning effect. So there are a lot of examples in common life, so where you can find all this. So you can go through your book. Some other examples are also given there. Okay. Okay. Now next is couple. Now whenever we apply a force to a body which is pivoted at one end, say this way, or in case of a wheel also, we give a force in this direction, the wheel will just turn, but for a continuous rotation, a constant force of equal and opposite force should act, which are parallel to each other. Better you can understand here. Now suppose if I just give a force anywhere in this body, it will either move in this way or in this way, it will either turn in this way or turn in that way, but the rotation will not be continuous. But if we apply the force in this way, then this body will rotate in this way. So that means when we use two equal and opposite force, not in a same straight line, that means two equal and opposite parallel force, not in a same straight line, means constitute a couple, and a couple always produces a rotation. You can understand, sir, whenever we use rotation, we turn anything, we use a couple force. Now suppose when you open a tap, generally we use your finger in this way, in the alternate way, and then we are rotating this way, the tap way, this way. So that means with this finger and with this finger we are just applying two equal and opposite force and parallel force, and therefore we can rotate the tap. Similarly, for opening lock and key, we use this way, we press and then we turn. Again with this finger and the thumb, we are using a couple force. So that is called a couple. Now suppose this is AB, this is point A and point B, the edge, and this is O. Now in this case also, in this case you can see, in the first case, this is the axis of rotation. So first at this arm a moment is produced, a turning effect, and this arm also the turning effect is produced, and you can see in both these cases the turning effect, in this case OA, at this OA the turning effect is in anti-clockwise direction, and OB also the turning effect is in the anti-clockwise direction. So it is anti-clockwise and this is also anti-clockwise, and finally the body will rotate at anti-clockwise direction. Now if I want to get the moment of couple, because here it is moment of couple force, so generally we say moment of couple. So for that, first of all we will calculate moment of force at AO, at arm AO. Now at arm AO will be what? F force and into distance means what? AO, and the sign will be positive. This is anti-clockwise, so if it is F into AO. Similarly, moment of force at OB Moment of force at OB will be what? Again F into OB, and here also the sign will be positive sign. And now we can find the sum of the moments, that's called moment of couple. Moment of couple will be what? F into AO plus F into OB. We can take F common, we get what? AO plus OB, and finally we get F into AB, F into AB. So that means moment of couple is equal to either force into couple arm. Now this arm between these two forces is known as couple arm, and either of the force into couple arm. So when we want to calculate moment of couple, we can directly say either force into couple arm, and here you can see the sign is positive, and that means it is in the anti-clockwise direction. And if it is in a clockwise direction, in that case what will happen? The force will be in this way, and if the force is in this way, then the body will rotate in this direction, clockwise direction. In that case we will write minus and minus, and my final answer will be minus F into AB. So if it is in clockwise direction, so we will get moment of couple as negative. So negative moment of couple means it is rotating in clockwise direction. In this case we are getting positive direction. So you can understand. So this is couple and couple moment of couple, and I have already mentioned about the everyday where we generally use couple force, like turning anything, turning a knob, opening the bottle of a bottle, or opening the lock and key, using a screwdriver. So wherever we opening a tap, so all these are example of couple in our daily life. Okay. Okay, now we'll talk about equilibrium. Now when equilibrium means, that means when a number of forces is acting on a body and there is no change of state in the body. That means there is no change in the state of rest or state of motion in the body. Now if the body is at rest, although number of forces is acting on it, there is no change in the state of rest of the body. Or if the body is in motion, and although there are number of forces acting on the body, but there is no change in the motion of the body, in that case we say the body is in equilibrium. Equilibrium is of two kinds, static and dynamic. I have already explained to you in the definition that whenever, if a body is at rest and multiple forces is acting on the body, a number of forces is acting on the body, but the body is not changing its state of rest, then we say it is in a static equilibrium. Say if a book is kept on a table, a book or a block, so it is in a static equilibrium. Because where the gravitational force is acting in the downward direction, and this table is also giving a force to the book in the upward direction, and that that's known as the reaction force. So in this case the book is at the same position, and therefore we say that the book is in the static equilibrium. Now similarly, if you pull this book from here and from here with equal forces, then also the book remains here, does not move. or if you give a force in this direction and this direction, equal force, the book does not move. So that means we see that the book is in static equilibrium. Similarly, dynamic equilibrium means when a number of forces is acting on a body and there is no change in its motion. In that case, we see it is in a dynamic equilibrium. Now suppose if you take a stone and tie it with a string like this, and now if you just rotate it this way, wheel, and what will happen? So uniformly, if you with a uniform speed, if you rotate it, now the body will rotate in this direction continuously. So that means you are just rotating in this way, and we see that the ball or the stone is in dynamic equilibrium. So it is in a dynamic equilibrium because you are pulling, there is a tension force here which is producing inward direction. So the tension force, that generally we see it is a centripetal force, and another force is acting on it, that's known as the centrifugal force. So lot of force is acting on this body, and still the body is in the same motion. So we say it is in a dynamic equilibrium. Another example of dynamic equilibrium is raindrop. Now very important this is. Now generally you know that suppose if you take a stone, and when a stone is dropped from a certain height, so initially when we are dropping, the speed of the stone is 0, and as it fall, after 1 second the speed become 10 meter per second, after 2 seconds the speed become 20 meter per second, because approximately if I take g as 10 meter per second square acceleration due to gravity, then what happens that when I am dropping the stone, initially the speed is 0, then it is 10 meter per second, then it is 20 meter per second, then it is 30 meter per second. So unless it reaches to the ground, the speed start increasing after every 1 second by 10, 10, 10, 10, and so ultimately it 50, and then it stops here. So in this case I say that the stone is not in a dynamic equilibrium because the speed is constantly changing. The speed is changing. But try to understand, for a raindrop, the very small, the mass is very negligible. When a raindrops fall, raindrop falls in a dynamic equilibrium. Now reason why? Because in a raindrop the mass is very less. Now mass is very less, and as the raindrop falls, the speed here also, in this case also increases, the speed increases, but with that speed, increase of speed, the upthrust due to air also increases, because as you go down and lower, the density of air increases. The density of air increases, and if the density of air increases, the upthrust increase. upthrust also increase. So as the speed of the raindrop is increasing, the upthrust acting in the upward direction is also increasing. Why? Because the density of the air is increasing. So this upthrust counterbalance the increase in speed, because upthrust is acting in the upward direction and the velocity of the raindrop is in the downward direction. They in fact balances each other. So the increase in speed, try to understand, the increase in speed is counterbalanced by the upthrust in the opposite direction, and hence the speed of the raindrop remain constant. Now the same thing does not happen for a heavy body, because heavy body the mass is more. So this upthrust does not affect that. The gravitational force is far more greater than the upthrust. What understand? So this is very important. A raindrop while falling from the cloud to the ground, they generally falls at a constant speed, and therefore the raindrop is in a dynamic equilibrium. Why? Because the increase in speed of the raindrop due to acceleration due to gravity is counterbalanced by the increase in upthrust in the upward direction due to the density of air is increasing as the raindrop is coming down and down and down. And hence it is in a dynamic equilibrium. Understand? Now next is principle of moments. Now it states that if a body is in equilibrium, just now you have seen what is dynamic or what is static equilibrium. It states that if a body is in equilibrium, the sum of anticlockwise moment, the sum of the total anticlockwise moment is always equal to the sum of total clockwise moments. That means what? The resultant moment of force will be zero. One or two examples I have already told you before, that if the anticlockwise moment and clockwise moment on a body is same, then what happens? The body does not rotate. So in that case we say it is in a static equilibrium. So if a body is in equilibrium, the sum of anticlockwise moment is always equal to the sum of clockwise moment. Now we can verify by following this procedure, verification. Now suppose we have taken a meter rule. And generally which is pivoted at the center, is balances at the center, say at 50 centimeter mark 0, and this is 100. Now suppose if I keep a particular weight, say W1, now what will happen? This will unbalance, so it will tilt in this direction, and this W1 is at a distance of L1. I take another weight, a different weight, W2 at a distance of L2, and now I can take a third weight, and by placing the third weight in a suitable position, we can balance this. And when this meter rule will balance, we can say that the sum of that the meter rule is in equilibrium. And suppose I have taken a third weight, and after placing at a different distances, we found at this distance it is balancing exactly W3, and let this distance be L3. Now since it is in equilibrium, we can say that, therefore we can say that the sum of anticlockwise moment will be equal to the sum of clockwise moments. Now you can understand, due to this W1 and W2, and this is the axis. Now due to this two weight, the meter rule will tilt in this direction, so that is anti-clockwise. So this is anti-clockwise, and due to this clockwise, so we can say that the sum of anti-clockwise moment is equal to sum of clockwise moment. So therefore we can say for W1 it will be what? W1 into L1, force into distance, plus this will be what? W2 into L2, W2 into L2, and that should be equal to what? Sum of clockwise moments, and that will be equal to W3 into L3. So finally we can say that if this body is in equilibrium, then this will be the situation. Now in numericals we will find this type of sums, and you can understand, out of all these values, if only one of the values is missing, you can get the remaining, you can get that value provided you know the other values of W1, W2, L1, L2, anything. Out of this, if any one is unknown, either the distance or the weight, we can get it by using the principle of moment. So if a body is in equilibrium, the sum of anti-clockwise moment is always equal to the sum of clockwise moment. Okay, understand? Now we'll just understand center of gravity of a body. Now before going to a center of gravity, try to understand about this resultant force. Try to understand. So now suppose if you have a body, if there is a hook, and if somebody is pulling in this way and the somebody is pulling in this way, F1 and F2, the body will neither go this direction nor it will go this direction. The body will go in this direction. So that is called the resultant force. You can understand, when a multiple force is acting on a body, the body cannot move in a multiple direction at a time. Either it will move at a particular point or it will not move. It will not move if all the forces are equal. But if unequal forces are acting on it, the body will move in a certain direction and only in one direction. And that is called the resultant force direction. Here also, if somebody is pulling this body in this direction and somebody is pulling this body in this direction, the body will go move in this direction. So that's called the resultant force. Okay, so understand this. So now try to understand about center of gravity. Now center of gravity, before that, what do we understand by gravitational force? We say that the weight of the body is the gravitational force acting on the body. And gravitational force means every object in this earth is attracted by the earth. And that is called gravitational force. So we can imagine that every object on the earth is attracted by the earth. So every particle is attracted by the earth. Now suppose this is a body. Now this full body is attracted by the earth in the downward direction. Okay. But you can understand, if you divide this body into two, Now these two body will be attracted by the earth in the downward direction. Again, if you further divide it, then those four bodies will be attracted by the earth. So that means, now if I break this body and break this body and break this body, and ultimately I come to the molecule part, then this molecule is also attracted by the earth. Understand? Now imagine, why imagine, it's there. Now in this body there numerous millions and millions of molecules present in it, and naturally every molecule is attracted by the earth with a force. Let it be W1, W2, W3 and W4 and W5, and so every molecule is getting attracted by the earth. So multiple gravitational forces acting on the body, but naturally there will be a resultant force of all these forces acting at a particular point. Just now I told you two forces are acting, but the body is moving in this direction, and that is called the resultant force. So that means the effect of this force and this force is this. So here also so many multiple forces are acting on the body. So there will be a resultant force of these so many forces acting on the body, and that resultant force is called the weight of the body or the gravitational force. And that resultant force acts at a particular point, and that particular point is called center of gravity. So you can understand all these gravitational forces, the resultant gravitational force is acting at this point, and that is called the gravitational force acting on the body, and that point is called the center of gravity. And generally the center of gravity is the geometric center of any body. For example, the center of gravity of this pen will be at the center, exactly at the center. So therefore, we can balance it. So that means if the weight of this pen is 10 Newton, that means the earth is attracting this pen with a force of 10 Newton at this point. The resultant gravitational force is acting at this point. And therefore the gravitational force of the pen and the normal reaction of my finger on the pen, they are equal, and therefore it is in equilibrium. Now, if I just place the center of gravity outside my finger, then what happens? You can see the body will fall in this direction, because the center of gravity is at this point. So the earth is attracting, and therefore it is falling at this point. And when the center of gravity I am placing at other side, it will fall at this point. Understand? So different body, if a body is of a definite geometric shape, then the center of gravity is generally at the geometric center. It's given in your chapter. You should learn this. It comes. For example, if you take a exercise book, the center of gravity of an exercise book or a textbook will be the geometric center. That means the point of intersection of the diagonals. So this is the center of gravity of a rectangular plate or a book or a copy. Similarly, center of gravity of a circular disc will be the geometric center. So like this, you have it's given in your book. You can go through them. Okay. Okay. Now just I'll explain you a very important sum. It's related to that center of gravity and the principle of moments. It's a very important sum. Every year this type of sum comes. You see what's given there? A uniform meter rule balances at 60 centimeter mark. when a mass of 10 gram is suspended from one end. I have to find what is the mass of the rule. So you have to just draw the diagram properly. You know, they told meter rule means it's from 0 to 100. So it's 0 and this is 100. And you can understand what will be the center of gravity of this ball, of this body, of this meter rule. The center of gravity, you know, it will be at 50 centimeter mark. So generally what happens, ki if at 50 centimeter mark you keep a knife edge, now this is called a knife edge, then it will balance. It will balance. Just now I have told you in case of this pen also, you can see, I am just putting it at the center.